determination, passion, stamina, and the will to win. The end result, the Ricmotech Sports Car Series. Extreme Motorsports brings you the Ricmotech Sports Car Series, brought to you by Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment, and by Proforma, Elite Texas Graphics. Live, Mondays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
The opening round didn't disappoint. A perfect way to commence the decade with 3 classes of cars, plenty of on-track action, and a race that was decided on the final lap, with the glitz and glamour set to continue as we head to the historical Brazil. And we welcome you to Interlagos, located in Sao Paulo, and it hosts the second round of Season 16 for the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series. All coverage today is on Apex Racing TV around this Interlagos. It's a 4.3 kilometer circuit, of course, 2.6 miles depending on your units of choice, anti-clockwise as it rounds with 15 corners around the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. 60 minutes of racing action coming up. Now, Interlagos, as we know, has and it incorporates a lot of undulation, 45 meters of total elevation change around this historical circuit that's seen Ayrton Senna conquer in the past. We are using the Grand Prix layout, of course. Plenty of overtaking spots too. We'll talk about that in a moment's time, but expect those pit stops to be critical yet again in these 60-minute events. They will come midway through the race. Who will pounce first into that tight pit entry? From myself, Jonathan Simon, welcome to the commentary booth. Tyler Maxson alongside me. Tyler, when you think Interlagos, you think Formula One.
Yeah, you most certainly do. I mean, it's played host to some of the most incredible F1 races that we've seen here in the last decade or so. And it's going to prove to be a very challenging track for the drivers today, being that it is designed to be an F1 circuit. A lot of times, these little MX-5s, TCR, and GS Ford Mustangs kind of have a little bit more of a tough time here. It can be a little bit difficult sometimes for drivers to get cars to have a nice balance set up on their cars. And some of the time it can be just an overall very challenging race because you don't have all that great of passing opportunities.
No, certainly don't. But every corner here as well in the middle sector is pretty much a sweeping corner. Even if you incorporate turn 1, the Descida del Lago as well into turn 4 and 5, and even those final few corners, there's a lot of long radius corners around this track. Now, if you're in a car that produces a lot of downforce and dirty air, that limits overtaking opportunities. But I do think, Tyler, that this track is well designed for some good racing action. And when you think Formula One here a few months ago, they had one of the best races of the decade in the closing stages especially. But I just wish we had rain in iRacing too to maximize this layout.
Yeah, I mean, if we had rain, I don't think that the action would ever let up here at Interlagos because it's one of those tracks where it's challenging as is in the dry. You add in the rain, that adds in that extra challenge, but it also just adds in that little bit of slipperiness because there is quite a bit of curbs here, and you have to use them quite a bit. So being that that is the case, you would have a lot of slipping and sliding that these drivers would be doing if we had the rain.
And you can see on screen there are a lot of curbs here around Interlagos, and this is one of the best tracks to learn how to use curbs in sim racing, because I remember when I was first getting into sim racing, I was about, maybe half a second off the top guys in some top leagues around the world, and I was wondering, where can I gain all this time? And once I started throwing the car into the curbs here and being aggressive, I seem to gain a lot of lap time.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly can be one of the biggest time gainers, and if you use the curbs correctly, it can really almost help you setup-wise, because if you can set the car up to be very quick around the fast corners that you have at this racetrack, and you can use the curbs and the slow speed to kind of help the car rotate, then you could really be in for a good setup. Because if you kind of have to build a setup that undulates to both, then that could sometimes lose you a little bit of lap time.
And talking about lap time here, Kevin Ford will take us on a track guide around Interlagos. He's back racing again today, but he'll set you on a trip around this 15-corner circuit, 4.3 kilometers in length. Enjoy it.
Welcome, everyone, to Interlagos, located here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today in the Ford Mustang around this 2.67-mile road course. The track was constructed in 1938 and was inspired by the 1937 layout of New York's Roosevelt Field Raceway, which eventually became a horse racing track. The inaugural event at Interlagos was held in 1940 and was nearly 5 miles in length at the time. The track has been shortened quite a bit over the years, but still plays host to the Brazilian Grand Prix to this day. Well, let's begin our track guide around this winding but fast road course as we head up the front straightaway and get up through the gears. Coming across the starting line, you'll notice our main grandstands to the right and a blind entry into turn one. This gets very busy at the start of races with all the traffic. Everybody trying to funnel down for position down through one, across through turn two here, and then eventually into turn three, Curva del Sol. Want to get a good run off this corner, as this is probably the first overtaking opportunity that you'll see at Interlagos. Coming down into turn four. Get down through the gears into third. Hard braking. Let the car rotate in the center. Don't want to go too wide there. You can get penalized for going off that corner as we come out of five. Up through the gears, heading up towards turn six. Back down into third gear. This is kind of a double right here. As we come out of six, we'll be setting up for turn seven. Back to throttle and set up for the entry of turn eight. Very hard right-hander down into second gear for this one. Want a little bit of throttle, let the car roll, brush the brake a little bit to set the shocks. Get a good run up out of nine. And this will bring us up into turn 10. Very hard right-hander. Here we can let that car expand out a little bit and track out off the corner to get some speed. This is wide open down through here, full throttle. Down around 11, approaching turn 12, hard on the brakes, back down into second gear. And this is the critical one here. You want to get a good run off of turn 12 as this brings you up into turn 13 and into turn 14 and out onto the front straightaway. This is full power through here. And probably the biggest overtaking opportunity is on this long straightaway as we come out of 15 and head back up the front stretch. As we approach the finish line, there is your track guide for Interlagos. Thank you for being with us.
Hope you enjoyed the track guide for today's event. Now, we are currently in qualifying provisionally. Last round, Tyler, was an interesting one at Sebring. We had two classes of cars. That includes the Mustang and the MX-5. Those races went down to the final laps. Of course, Elvis Rankin winning that race at the final corner and taking his first career win. He's currently on provisional pole for the moment. Qualifying is not over for your MX-5 grid, but he'll be looking to do the same here today and take another race victory.
Yeah, he certainly will. He'll be looking to take another race win here in the Ricmotech SportsCar Series, and at this point, he set himself up to do it again. Like you said, provisionally on pole here by just about a tenth of a second over DJ Alessandrini. Look who else is up the order now. Jason Boss. He's moved up a lot in this 1 week, or the 2 week period actually that we've had. I don't remember him being towards the front in the last one, but he's currently sitting third in qualifying right now, so that could be a good result here if he can hang on to it for the eSport Racer driver.
Yep, currently watching Elvis Rankin on screen, so this is going to be an interesting end to qualifying. We never really cover qualifying, Tyler. Now, the way it works is we have our, well, what we usually had pre-season 15 was we had our, what was it, the Mustang grid go out for the first 15 minutes. The MX-5 grid would close out now, the final 15 minutes of qualifying. Now that we have 3 classes of cars, they're merging the TCR and Mustang qualifying together. Then we had an odd situation in qualifying. We had one driver in the MX-5 pull out to the racetrack with the rest of the grid, and I think he got quite a, I'll tell you what, not a slap on the wrist. He got a full knockout to the wrist by the stewards.
Yeah, the stewards, I don't think were very happy about that one there. But luckily didn't get in the way of anyone, so he was able to kind of go early enough, get out of the way of everyone to get back into the pit lane before he caused really too much trouble for all of the stewards and the other drivers out on the racetrack. Just about 1 minute, 10 seconds left to go in qualifying now, and several drivers have already pulled it in and decided to call it quits. Now, we have a few heavy hitters still out there on the racetrack, but they're really not able to do anything at this point. So most of your key drivers are into the pit lane. One driver going back out, that's DJ Alessandrini. He's not going to make it around to the start line, though. So right now, I believe unless Travis Schwanke or John Allen, can do something here in the closing stages, I think Elvis Rankin's got the pole pretty well secured.
Yeah, I think he does. Now, it was Oliver Hartley who was the driver who was in the wrong qualifying session. I don't see Robert Hartley out there racing on the racetrack. Now, I'm not accusing Rob of any malfeasance here, but is he racing under a fake name this afternoon? Is this Robert Hartley we're watching on screen? Is this his long-lost twin brother?
I think, if anything, it's Robert's long-lost twin brother, but yeah, Robert Hartley, he's one of the quickest ones out there. I think if it was, I think we'd see Rob a little bit higher up the order, maybe, than he is right now. But we'll have to wait and see. Who knows? If Oliver Hartley goes out and absolutely destroys everyone, then maybe we have to ask Rob whether he was using a fake account or not.
Yeah, but that's his long-lost Hispanic brother there, Oliver Hartley. But he's down the order. He's in the 19th position in class. Struggling there, isn't he, through Ferradura. Here's Elvis Rankin, though. Qualifying's over. He's going to cross the line for the final time. And what do you think, Tyler? Lap times decrease the more this session progresses with the updated MX-5? I think everyone's pulling into the pit lane, understanding that they got no chance on these tires.
Yeah, that's certainly one of the things that can be a real challenge with these MX-5s is no. Travis Schwanke takes the pole position in the dying stages by 0.4 of a second over Elvis Rankin.
Yep, it's time to look at our race grid. No, it's not, Tyler. We've still got 90 seconds. Excuse me. But that is qualifying all over, like you said. Interesting part is, we'll look at the grid in a moment's time, but Kevin Carlisle will start on pole for TCR. Mike Dam for your Mustang class. Travis Schwanke with that late time, as Tyler mentioned, will start on pole for your MX-5 field. But first off, strategies, Tyler, before we can actually look at the grid. Like we expected, we're going to see this for all 60-minute races. Probably expect the TCR, maybe actually all 3 classes of cars, just to take 2 tires on their pit stop. Interlagos is an anti-clockwise racetrack, so are we expecting those tires to be the right sides?
Yeah, we certainly could see that. Now, I think if the drivers, for most of the drivers, at least in your MX-5 and your GS field, they are going to take right side tires, I would assume. But then in TCR, I think pretty much the safe bet for these drivers is to take 2 front tires. That's one of the more common things that we see TCR drivers take, because the rear tires in those cars take so long to get up to temperature, and it's something that iRacing did absolutely perfectly with that TCR car, is understanding how long it really takes to get those rears up to temperature, and it can take sometimes up to 3 and 4 laps. So drivers most of the time will just take fronts, kind of just do a little bit of a spin up on the exit of pit lane, and they'll have those tires right up to temperature really quick.
And as we flick to the race, we will look at today's grid for round 2 for season 15. It's the second race of a new decade, and it will be Apex Racing Team's Kevin Carlisle on pole position. Very unexpected. If you were having a look at that qualifying section, he was struggling. He was nowhere to be seen in your top 5, and with some late lap times, ended up pipping our championship leader, William Laster, who came home with a race win at Sebring, and a dominant round for William Laster. Matthew Madigan and Jeff Appelgren, the 2 Nürburgring cars, head that second row, along with 3 D2D Esports cars behind. That's Whitworth and Violet. Of course, Chad Parker rounds the 7th position, as you can see. Lucas Ford rounds out the top 10. Edgar Sanchinelli rounds out our TCR field. And then we will switch over to your Mustang class, and you can already see a quick sneak peek of who's on pole. That's Mike Dam, who will start from that 12th position. Schiffler will start second. Tyler Schiffler, that's a brilliant qualifying performance from him. Not the best qualifying performance from Aero Nom. We expected him to have a bit more of a challenge this season. Will his race win streak be broken? Remember, he hasn't been beaten since season 13. It's been that long, Aero Nom. Clean swept season 14 with a brilliant championship. And of course, Clint Vigas and Russ Ruddock will start from 15th and 16th. Down the back end of the order, here's your MX5 class. Schwenke, with that late time, pips the young Elvis Rankin, who just took home his first race of victory of his career. It's John Allen and Alessandrini starting in 3rd and 4th. That's a very quick top 4 there in the MX5 class. No Robert Hartley today, so Jason Bossy rounds out the rest of the order. The 2 Esport Racer cars head the 3rd row, along with a lot of D2D Esports cars down the back end of the order. Then, of course, you can see all the way down to Patrick Prevenis, there'll be 40 cars in racing action today. So ready to go here, Tyler. It's going to be a short pace lap, isn't it? And your pace car is ready to pull away. Interlagos into turn 1 is always quite chaotic.
Yeah, it certainly is. It can be one of the more chaotic turn 1s of the season, I would think. And with this, a little bit shorter pace lap than especially what we saw in Sebring, this is going to be quite difficult for the TCR guys, especially to get heat in all of those tires. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them working the tires quite a bit here on the opening formation lap, because this is going to be a very hard-fought 60-minute race. The draft is very much evident in both the TCR and your MX5 class, so I think we're going to see some very close pack racing today, especially in MX5.
Yep, that TCR is a front-wheel drive car, so the Audi is going to have to take some heating up to get those rear tires up to temperature. Now, if you're new to the series, welcome on board. We have 3 classes of cars on offer. The Audi can be identified on the left-hand side of screen by our gray numbered overlays. The blue are our Mustang class, and then of course our MX5 class will be identified in orange, as you can see on the left-hand side. But for now, though, we will focus on that man, Kevin Carlisle, who was one of the best qualifying rallycross drivers in the world in 2019. Didn't have the best of rookie campaigns as he could have hoped for. Now's a good time in the off-season to develop his pace, have a bit of fun in different cars, and possibly take his first win in the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series. But look at the other 10 Audis behind. They'll be ready to stop him here from Interlagos. We go green for round number 2, and already a bit of argy-bargy into turn 1 between Laster and Carlisle. Laster will lead the field away.
Yeah, so what a start then from William Laster. He will lead the field through turn number 1. Kevin Carlisle, though, he wasn't really ready to give it up, but Laster said no, thank you. I am going to take that position anyway. 2 drivers off in the background. It's very easy to do in turn 2, but back to your Mustangs here. Mike Dam leads them away.
Yeah, a lot of extracurricular activity in your Audi TCR class. Now we look at the Mustang getaway. Mike Dam defending the inside line like there's no tomorrow. And the Canadian here trying to do all he can to break free from Aero Nom. Mike Dam will lead the field away, but it's between Nom and Schiffler for second. This is an important move for your Estonian as we switch to the beginning of your MX5 order.
And they're still going to go side by side thus far. Elvis Rankin's quite the start, but but it will be Travis Schwenke who will move up into the lead. And oh no, Alessandrini's around in the background.
Yeah, it does look like DJ Alessandrini. And it looked like he may have spun that all on his own. So that would have been a disappointing move there. But here's Schwenke and Rankin on the run down to the Desquito del Lago for the first time. This downhill braking zone is ever challenging. Man, that's a heartbreaking start for Alessandrini, who just keeps falling down the order.
Yeah, what an unfortunate start then for DJ Alessandrini. He loses quite a few places right off the bat. And that's going to be a long 60 minutes now that he's going to have on his hands. He's down to 18th in class now. And he's got to try to make all that time up here in a very short period of time. But back to your overall race leader. William Laster leads right now. Kevin Carlisle's keeping him very honest, just 0.3 of a second behind. And the Geoff Appelgren for Nerdworks Racing, he's half a second behind the lead three. So right now your top three starting to stretch away from the rest of your TCR field.
Yep, so the two Nerdworks cars still third and fourth. So brilliant getaway for those two, but it's up to these two at the front here. You're watching Laster on screen. Now, I tell you what, Ferradura isn't really an overtaking opportunity, but it's possible. Carlisle will remain behind for the moment. So the ART driver demoted to second after his poor getaway. Here's Geoff Appelgren down the top end of the order. He's in good contention here, Tyler, I mean, if the two up ahead start scrapping away here in the middle sector, Appelgren's ready to pounce.
Yeah, it's certainly a good position to be in, but I just don't see these two getting all that argy-bargy this early on. Let's check in here on your GS field. Aeronam, look at him. He's up to second place, but Mike Dams pulled out 0.7 of a second on him here in the opening lap.
Yeah, Mike Dam has been quick, we know, in the Mustang. But Aeronam is the greatest to ever do it in the Mustang for sure. Kevin Ford's down the order in 7th. By the way, I just saw some names switch in our TCR order. Here's Kevin Ford. And we switch back to Laster here in P1. This is what I was watching here. The battle for the lead as Carlisle searches for the outside line. It's possible if he can force Laster offline, but look at the camber of the center S here at Interlagos. It just promotes some brilliant driving and brilliant racing.
And there you go. You can see a ruling from race control there at the bottom. Car 30 has gotten an avoidable contact warning there. That is going to be Eric Lister way down the order in your MX-5 field. But as we continue to ride on board here with Kevin Carlisle, you can just see the challenges that this Interlagos racetrack provides for the drivers.
Certainly does. Carlisle has got the draft here. He's going to have to back out, though. Ferradura, this next right-hander, is ever so thrilling to drive. Two apexes through the corner, as you can see. They're right where those curves are placed. But again, it's going to have to take a mammoth run and maybe even a mistake from Laster for Carlisle to make a move into there. Here we go through the middle sector, and then we'll go through to the Bico de Pato. This next right-hander shaped like a duckbill. That's why it's named the duckbill corner in Portuguese. And then now towards Is That Glock. This is the Is That Glock corner. That's what I'm going to call it now for the rest of the race. Here's Jim List. I'm not going to call it that. John Allen in third for the moment. Jim List right behind. This is a great start from Jim List. We haven't really seen List up in contention here for the lead for many races in the past. And Jim List really under attack here on the Defined Auto Works driver.
Yeah, so right now John Allen getting attacked by Jim List. List smartly, though, backs out of it a little bit, gives John Allen the space. But this front four, like you said, is very closely packed together. And even Jason Bosse just back there in the background, just 0.7 of a second behind. He's still technically in the lead draft and in that lead fight right now. But it's all being head by Travis Schwenke. And from the looks of it, Elvis Rankin's perfectly content with sitting down at second.
Yeah, maybe save a bit of fuel in the early order. Now, while you were discussing that battle, Laster and Carlisle were alongside each other yet again on the main straight. Oh, and they got a lapped car here in the way. That's the 55 of Oliver Hartley. Rob Hartley's Hispanic brother. No, he's not. So they're going to go through the first couple of corners. through the Ferradura this is, but through the main straight, Tyler, they were alongside each other, and now they've got a few lapped MX-5s to make life a little bit more difficult for themselves.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the best passing opportunities, but it's all about getting to the inside. It's really not easy. Wow. What an avoidance by William Laster. I'm sure his heart stopped there for just a couple of seconds, but he got by the MX-5 there. I wasn't even quite sure of who he passed. That was actually Patrick Prevenos in the MX-5 field, but William Laster's up into the lead, or he's staying in the lead, sorry, but he's got Kevin Carlisle all over the back of him now. If Carlisle can get to the inside, this may be his best opportunity he's had all race.
Could certainly be. Here we go, another move. Look at the lapped cars up ahead. That's going to make life more difficult for these two. I don't think the outside line's working, Tyler. I think Carlisle's got to try and attempt something different.
Yeah, I think he's definitely got to try it, but right now, William Laster's doing such a good job at covering off as these guys really are having to do some defending there. Look at the purple TCR car just in the background there of Geoff Appleton and the Nerdworks Racing. He's all stuck in these MX-5s. He can't get by, and it's actually going to allow his teammate Matt Madigan. Wow, he almost goes into the side of the D2D Esports number 60 of Chris Thorman and Greg Brockway. So not the middle sector that these two Nerdworks cars wanted.
Oh man, Matt Madigan. Thank goodness he's got rallycross experience, because I don't even know if he was on the racetrack there trying to make his way past all the lapped cars. Now, I don't think the MX-5s are really doing anything wrong. There's just no room for that many cars on one piece of tarmac. This is bizarre here to begin this race. And now the two leaders of Laster and Carlisle continue to scrap.
And you can just see there by the position on the track map, you can see where everyone is. They've got a lot of traffic in about the second half of the racetrack. The first half is just dead, where the second half has got everything.
Yeah, look at that. So if you're going to make an early pit stop, now's the time to do it, but you may even lose the benefit of the draft. And that, Tyler, is you're somebody who races the Mazda MX-5 in the real world. You were a champion in 2019, as we see the two leaders once again looking to make moves on each other. But the MX-5, when it comes to slipstream, it's one of the most critical aspects of that car.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, even in the TCR cars, too, it can be one of the more critical aspects of it, because those cars are kind of even underpowered for what they could do. They're certainly a lot of times weighed down more than what they're designed and what they're capable of doing. So these cars could certainly go a bit quicker, and because of that, the draft effect is just multiplied by about 6 on each one of those cars. So it's one of the biggest defining factors of the race is how well you can work the draft and how well you can use it to your advantage when it comes to making overtakes.
Yeah, most certainly. So whilst these two continue to battle, your lead for the Mustang class continues. That's Mike Dam versus Aero Nom. And they're in a nice little scrap. Then we switch over to the leaders of your MX-5 class, who are yet to be lapped by your TCR order. Here they are. And it's Schwenke, Rankin, Allen, List, Jason Bossy for the eSport Racer team also. Now, where are your leaders, William Laster and Kevin Carlisle? That'd be interesting to know. They're right behind, I believe. Am I getting that correct? So they'll be close to lapping these leaders right now, and that could really affect both classes. There they are. There are the two leaders on screen, Laster and Carlisle. So they're just about to lap the leaders of your MX-5 order, and this could really shape things up. Oh, they're going for the worst part of tarmac they could hope for.
Oh, and that was actually played to William Laster's advantage perfectly there. He's almost spooked some of the MX-5s.
Oh, no!
And no, Travis Schwenke spun in front of traffic. Travis Schwenke's down to 6, and he's nearly reversed off into the barriers.
Oh, and he's going to have to wait an eternity as the rest of the field's going to go by. And his race and his hopes and dreams of a race victory, his heart's going to sink. How did Kevin Carlisle avoid that? I don't know. John Allen, that was difficult to call, Tyler. I'd love to get another look at it, but if we can get another look at it, talk us through this, because this is a tough one to call.
Yeah, I think this is exactly, John Allen just in a bit too deep, just a little bit too much speed, and he's going to make contact, and he just makes a bit of contact then with Travis Schwenke and sends him flying down the order.
So John Allen is car number 101, like you can see on screen. And if Race Control has any updates, well, there you go on screen. Perfect timing. Car 16, which is Travis Schwenke, who's all the way down in 12th, and John Allen under investigation. Now, Riley Downey and Brandon Whitworth, the battle for 5th continues in your TCR order. They're trying to lap the MX-5 cars as well. Here they are on screen. Brandon Whitworth's going to be a beneficiary of that. And he's got Jeff Appelgren and Matt Madigan too. Goodness me, this race is bizarre, Tyler. I didn't expect traffic to be this bad at Interlagos.
Yeah, this is one of those things I think that becomes one of the biggest key factors when you're in the top classes. We see Kevin Carlisle and William Laster side by side into turn number 1. Kevin Carlisle is going to try it around the outside. He's still not going to be able to make anything of it. These two have absolutely left the rest of your TCR field. They've got an 11-second advantage.
So what I've done in the past, if I'm Carlisle, is he has another attack here. Let's have a look and see if he can pull this move off. He goes for the outside line, and Laster's going to throw it deep. I tell you what, let's focus on this, because Kevin Carlisle's forced William Laster into an error. That's going to be the lead for your American. And the Apex Racing Team driver from pole position finally reclaims the first position. Brilliant overtaking move.
Yeah, what an overtake then for Kevin Carlisle. And now he'll move himself up into turn number 1, or up into P1. But back to what I was saying, though, about the traffic management. It's one of the most key factors in multi-class racing, especially whenever you're the fastest car, is knowing how to get through traffic efficiently where you're not losing too much time, but also worrying about battling with your competitors. It's one of the things you can obviously see. Carlisle and Laster have a lot of experience with this, and I just don't think the two Nerdworks cars quite are on that same level of experience with getting through the traffic, because you saw as soon as they got up to the back of MX-5 traffic, the two Nerdworks cars were now nowhere to be seen.
And look at that on screen. John Allen has been issued a drive-through penalty by our race stewards. He will hand the lead over to Elvis Rankin. He'll have to take that in the next few laps. If I was him, I would just probably come in this lap round as long as those TCR cars don't get in the way. But unfortunately for Allen, and he will serve that penalty this time round as he enters the pit lane, he will hand the lead over to the young Elvis Rankin.
So what an unfortunate circumstances there for both John Allen and for Travis Schwenke. I don't even think Allen's going to be in behind Schwenke. I still think he's going to come out ahead of him.
Oh, wait and see. Schwenke, remember, did have to wait an eternity for the rest of the field to come by. There was a lot of traffic. Yeah, so that's a very drive-through penalty. They're not trying to be too harsh to him, but Schwenke ended up worse off. So I think Schwenke would try and argue his case there if he was... well, we hope he's a lawyer, because he's going to need it when he argues that with the stewards. It's too late now. Here's Mike Dam on screen, though. And Mike Dam yet to be pounced off the first position by the Estonian Aviro Nom. One of the few Europeans in the field. He's racing in the early hours of the morning, by the way. Just so you know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I was Aeronom if I would be, so let's just say dedicated to the league, because that's quite early to be racing. For him, it's nearly something more like 1 o'clock in the morning.
And sorry to interrupt, Tyler. Laster is back into the first position. So both he and Carlisle... Oh, is that Carlisle in the wall? Oh, what's going on here? Kevin Carlisle's into the wall on the pit straight. That's absolutely bizarre.
Oh, no.
Goodness gracious.
What's going on there? I'm so confused.
Well, words can't describe that for sure. We're speechless here. Here's the replay up on screen, Tyler. Talk us through this, because did Laster go for a gap here? I think that wasn't there.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
I don't know.
Oh, no. I'd like to see the leading up to this, because I want to know whether Kevin Carlisle moved over in an attempt to block him, or if that gap... Oh, yeah, that gap was always going to close then.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. So that incident is going to be investigated. And to be honest with you, Laster was alongside Carlisle. I think Kevin... It's a tough one to judge, Tyler, but I definitely think Kevin should have known, and his spotter should have been telling him that there's a car alongside him on the straight.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that one there, but it's a tough one to call, because you even could argue the point of that, yes, he should have known, but the car overtaking is always the one responsible when there is an incident like that. And when the driver ahead of you just closes the gap, some of the time it's just better to back out of it than to cause an incident like that, because all that does is just put a big question mark over the head of William Laster right now. And that's just going to be playing back in his mind, thinking, did he actually cause that? Because if he did, then that could be really detrimental to his race.
Well, that's that's an interesting one. The incident under investigation, and this could promote, if they believe William Laster is at fault, which I don't think. I really think Laster's... It's a tough one to call, Tyler, isn't it? Because, yeah, Laster's the overtaking car, and he's responsible, but I do think he had the line up the inside. So if you're Carlisle, you sort of... You got to defend earlier. You can't allow Laster to hit up the inside. But if Laster's deemed at fault for that incident, it's not going to help Kevin Carlisle. He'll be livid with that for sure. And Laster's going to be demoted from the lead. That could put your two Nerdworks cars into first and second.
Yeah, it really could. And I mean, I'm not too sure that William Laster doesn't have some sort of damage, because he isn't pulling away like he was over the two Nerdworks cars. So William Laster may have a bit of damage after that incident, because he not only made contact with the wall, he also made contact there with Kevin Carlisle. But back to your point, though, I think that incident was very much a racing deal, because I think not only should have Kevin given more room, maybe William could have backed out of that one. But like you said, if Kevin's going to defend, he's got to do it a bit earlier.
Oh, what a cracking race, though. There's been a lot of incidents. Elvis Rankin's car's beaten up. And for such a clean series, Tyler, we never see this many incidents, too, in the Ricmotech SportsCar series. But my goodness, man. I mean, when is this going to stop? That's the question. I think the track and the traffic's made it a little bit worse.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree with that one. It's definitely not helped the situation as the traffic. And I think that's all this has done is just allowed your three race leaders to kind of stretch away a gap over the rest of the competitors. But let's jump back here to the battle for second in your TCR field. The two Nerdworks cars all over the back of each other. But back to what I was just about to say here, Mike Dam has pulled a 1.3 second advantage over Aeronam at this stage.
Brilliant stuff from Mike Dam. Traffic would certainly help there as well. Watching Jeff Appelgren on screen. He's in the Audi Nerdworks car right behind his teammate. It's the battle for second. Brandon Whitworth also, don't forget, is right there with these two. Now pit stop's coming up, Tyler. That's going to affect the race as well. Anything to note come pit stop time? Because damage is certainly going to cost some drivers a certain amount of time.
Yeah, damage could certainly cost a lot of these drivers some time here, but I don't think that many of them will take, unless they have something that's almost required of them to take. I think a lot of them won't be taking those optional repairs, and they would rather just run the car the way it is and just almost risk it a little bit than to take the damages and lose a lot of on-track time, because I think on-track position today may be the most important factor that we've seen.
David Payton, who's in fifth. And a nice little scrap here. Peyton, the Canadian, has been quick in the MX-5. Be looking for a career best result today for sure. He's in that D2D esports car. The other D2D esports car of Jim List. There's a few of them out there, but that's another one. Is in second in class, so look out for him. This is Russ Ruddock, the Flying Tortoise Motorsports car. And he's right behind Steve Daniel. Now, this series, of course, presented by Performer Elite Texas Graphics. Check them out at the Extreme Motorsports website for more information. Did you see that race control update at the bottom of the screen, Tyler? No further action. They've deemed it to be. That says to me it's a racing incident between William Laster and Kevin Carlisle.
And to be honest with you, I'm really not surprised then with the decisions by the race stewards. I think that was a very good call there by the stewards. I think they really nailed that one about spot on, and that will allow William Laster to continue with his race. 7 seconds out in the race lead over Matt Madigan. But like you were saying, pit stops are going to turn this race up on its head, and they're coming up in a very short period of time here.
Certainly are. Man, the race is starting to die down now. What's happened, Tyler? It's like my emotions. They're not gradually going up or down. They're not, I'm not easing into battles or anything. We've gone from straight chaos to now we're expecting pit stops. We're having a quiet period. Man, this is hard to adjust to. Let me tell you that much in the commentary booth. I feel sorry for the drivers.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly not something that we usually see. Like you said, I mean, we usually don't have this many crashes and incidents in the series. And with that, we don't usually have a crazy amount. Wait, what's happened here? How has Jeff Bosse gotten up into second place?
Past Jim List. So he's made a move in the past couple of laps. Here will be a replay on screen. Now, what's happened here, Tyler? So this is Jim List in the 61 ahead of Jason.
Yeah, it's a very simple draft move there. Got the move done into turn number 1. And right now, if I were Jim List, I would kind of be worried because he's starting to fall off the back of the car of Jeff Bosse. And if I were Elvis Rankin, I would also be worried about the number 17 eSport Racer car because he's coming up very quickly indeed.
Certainly is, and there's pit stops coming up like we said, so it's a good time to take a quick commercial break. We'll bring you all that action after this. You're watching round 2 for season 16 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series. Back to racing action here for round 2 for season 16 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series. Now, we said we'll bring you pit stops after the ad break. A few drivers have gotten a little bit too happy on that, and they've already entered the box. We've had the likes of Lucas Ford entering the pit lane. Don't forget Russ Ruddock. Leader Mike Dam as well has entered the pit lane. Jeff Jacobs too to be included. And down in your MX5 order, we've had DJ Alessandrini also enter the pit lane. So a lot of pit stops here, Tyler. And we have a lot more to come.
Yeah, we certainly do have a lot more pit stops to come here. We also have a lot more racing action to come. As you can see, the TCR cars still making their way through MX5 traffic. It's pretty much a never-ending cycle for the TCR guys and the two NerdWorks cars getting side by side as they work their way through traffic down in towards turn number 1. But all this is doing and all this different stuff that's been happening has just been in the complete benefit of William Laster. He is now out 7.4 seconds over the rest of your field. He's found his footing again after the incident with Kevin Carlisle, and he's now starting to pull away.
So that's Tyler Maxson alongside myself, Jonathan Simon here, where we're bringing you all the action on Apex Racing TV at Interlagos for round 2 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series presented by Performer Elite Texas Graphics. This is Kevin Carlisle on screen. Now, his pit stop couldn't come any sooner, Tyler, after he and William Laster collided while alongside each other, battling for the lead just a few minutes ago. And here's Carlisle in a move for P6.
Yeah, Kevin Carlisle. Now, he is moving. Actually, he's just gotten overtaken again by Bobby Childs. But Carlisle's gotten the run on the exit, and he's going to make himself up pretty easily past the DTD sports car, and he'll move back up into 6th place. Now he's got a bit larger gap to catch up to the other DTD sports car of Eric Violet.
Carlisle here is screaming through what's essentially the final corner on the racetrack here at Interlagos, Yunsao. Of course, this main straight, it's not really a straight, but that's sort of what we classify it as. So it's 14 and then 15. This is where Carlisle collided with Laster, believe it or not, at this portion of the racetrack. You hardly ever see incidents through there. Russ Ruddock into the pit lane. There's the Flying Tortoise Motorsports driver. Iro Nom still leads the field away. Now, Tyler, the big talking point, and we discussed this during the commercial break, was whether or not Iro Nom's win streak would continue.
And it's certainly one of the things that could be hanging in the balance. Look here. Elvis Rankin, he is into the pit lane. Jim List is going to easily go by him. So what was your race leader is now going to move down into provisional 2nd, maybe even 3rd here, depending on how good his outlap can be.
Important for Rankin. Took his first career win last race. Now look at his pit time, Tyler. What is that? I see a 23-second pit stop. So the damage didn't really seem to affect him too much. There's one of the Mustangs. That's Daniel Rash in the number 1 for Rash Racing. Just out in the way. Not hurting his race at all. But for Rankin, an important phase right now. He's right ahead of... No, sorry, Schwenke we're watching on screen. He's right ahead of Derek Holland there. This is Rankin now on screen. So how do you see this race playing out?
So as of right now, I think these drivers need to be the most worried about Jason Bosse in the eSport Racer car because he's got a lot of pace. I mean, he showed it. He absolutely flew through that MX5 field. He's up 4 spots from his starting position, but he really had some pace in the last 10 minutes. So he actually may have done what he needed to do to take over the race lead, but we'll find out real soon here as he dives into pit lane.
And have a look at Madigan and Whitworth. Right behind Jeff Appelgren. They're really close to each other right now. This is Mr. Whitworth through the center S. Oh, God, that sounded like I had a lisp. Through the center S. Trying to make a move here on Matthew Madigan. The NerdWorks driver was on the podium, don't forget, for round 1. Looking to do the same here for the second round of the campaign. The Skidoo del Lago, the downhill braking zone, so easy to run deep through there. That looked like that could have been a move, Tyler. I tell you what, between Whitworth and Madigan, there's been a penalty for the 78 car. We'll bring you that in a moment's time. Is that Aeronom?
That is Aeronom. Aeronom's gotten a drive-through penalty for an incident, but I'm trying to figure out what the incident was.
Yep, so it was with car 55 that we're looking at the race control updates that they send us here, the live feed. That looks like it's Oliver Hartley in the MX5 field, so this looks like a traffic issue for Aeronom.
And I may have just found it here. Let's see. This is exactly where it's going to be. Oh, don't tell me it's... Oh, no.
I tell you what, it's obviously Aeronom's fault, but I've been in that situation if you're Aeronom, when you're that quick and someone you're lapping is a lot slower than they should be, a lot slower than you expect, you just misjudge it by quite a margin. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's Aeronom's fault, but it wasn't the best of positions for him, to be honest with you. And I'm just telling you from experience, Tyler, it's a frustrating one for Aeronom because you have to take the blame, but it's also the car up ahead was a lot slower than it should have been.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when you're someone driving in the faster class, I mean, I've driven LMP1 for quite a bit of time, and it's one of those things when you're driving the faster class, whenever you're in such a faster class like the Mustang is, you kind of expect the car ahead. You recognize patterns in the driving styles. You expect the cars ahead to be a certain speed, and then whenever they're not, it really can throw you off, like you said. I mean, and that can cause, sometimes it's not even that the incident was so careless on the fact of the faster driver. It's just that they really just didn't expect the driver to be that slow.
Yeah, so, and excuse me, Oliver Hartley, we're not saying that in a bad way. It's just the situation that it is. We're just calling it bluntly, but for Hartley, though, certainly not his fault at all, 0%. So don't twist our words there. And unfortunately for him, Hartley's race would have taken a turn for the worse too. So Hartley, though, he'll continue to pounce away. Hopefully claim as many points as he can from this race. This is Jim List now we're watching on screen. List, Rankin, and Thorman here. Jim List, I think, has essentially grabbed the lead here. He's nabbed the lead there from Elvis Rankin. This is your essential battle for P1.
Yeah, this is basically the battle for P1 at the moment. Minus Chris Thorman. He has not come into the box yet, but these two, Elvis Rankin and Jim List, they are battling for what is the effective race lead. The drivers ahead of them are yet to pit, but the biggest heavy hitter that we still have to come into the pit lane, it will be John Allen, but I don't think he's going to be anywhere because of that drive-through penalty that he had.
Keep an eye on that for sure. Other pit stops coming in for Eric Violet and Bobby Childs. Two D2D esports cars saving their pit stops a little later on in the event. Now, the TCR cars, like we said, Tyler, we haven't seen many of them in the pit lane, and that's because they do run longer in comparison to your Mustangs and your MX-5 cars. So the D2D esports drivers making their pit stops, it seems late, but it's actually quite early for that TCR vehicle.
Yeah, the TCR car can go one of the longer stints on a tire set and on a fuel run, and it's one of those things in the TCR car, it almost works better whenever the tires get to a certain point. You almost have to feel right as they start to fall off. You need to come in, put a fresh set of tires on at that point, and if you're right at about the midway point in the race, which is right when the tires would start to normally fall off and would start to really level out and lose a little bit of speed, that's when these drivers will be starting to come into the pit lane. So it's all about how conservative you were on your tires for the first bit, and now we see William Laster into the pit lane for his stop here in this race.
Goodness me, locked up the rears did William Laster there or something. And he's going to be one of the first to service his cars here. Matthew Madigan joins him. Aeronom's also going to make a pit stop. So Aeronom's made 2 pit stops in a row here. One to serve the drive-through penalty. Now he's going to make that service to the Mustang, which is going to... well, he's going to take right-side tires, but this is going to send him to the end of the race. Aeronom's already in second. this could be the end of his long win streak.
Yeah, it certainly could be the end of the win streak for Aeronam. He hasn't lost a race in nearly 2 or 3 seasons now at this point, so he's been absolutely dominant here in the past few seasons. But it may go to this man right here, Mike Dam, who currently leads by 14 seconds. I think if he can just keep this one under control, he's got it pretty much in the bag.
Missed out in the MX5 championship, did Mike Dam, by 1 point. Remember all the confusion we had, Tyler? We didn't know who won the race until about 15 minutes after the checkered flag went. The points were really difficult to calculate.
Yeah, they really were. I had to even jump over into the series TeamSpeak and actually ask one of the admins who won, because I couldn't even do. I was frantically doing the math while you're doing interviews, and yeah, like you said, he lost out on it by what? I think it was 1 point in the end. He lost out on the MX5 championship by, so that was an absolute heartbreak for him, and I can tell you, it just feels terrible to lose out on it by so little, because, and he really, I think he did everything he possibly could have too. I think he won the race in the final stretch there, did absolutely everything that he could, and still was just not enough to win it.
Yep, this is Jeff Applegren on screen, making his first and only pit stop for the day. Well, what he hopes is his only pit stop of the day. Now, Kevin Carlisle's in the pit lane too. This will be interesting to see whether or not he'll have to repair the damage on that Apex Racing Team cars. The Sunshines Autos racing car of Riley Downey's also in the pit lane. The American will service his Audi. And right to the end of the pit lane is Carlisle. He has that pole position pit stall. And a few MX-5s also making their pit stop. That's is that Mike Taylor on screen? Yes, it is. The 66 of Mike Taylor. Now, like to see Carlisle. Yeah, look at the damage Carlisle's had. There's a lot of damage to repair here. This is going to end his chances of a race win for sure.
And he's off the jacks and away is Kevin Carlisle. But yeah, like you said, he's absolutely way out of the contention for a race victory. There's absolutely no chance, and he's just going to come out. But he actually has gained a bit of time here because he's come out right near Matt Madigan, and he was nearly 3 or 4 seconds behind Matt going into the pit stop.
Oh, wow. So as Madigan had a few issues. I do believe Carlisle had some damage, let me tell you that. If it was optional damage, I might be wrong, so don't take my word for it. But here's Greg Mack making a pit stop. You can't see him on screen. Well, there he is now, but it's Elvis Rankin who's going to be handed the lead back, and he's right ahead of Jim List. Now, where's your man, Jason Bossy? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to embarrass Tyler Maxson here. He told me during the commercial break, he said, hands down, this is what, 15 minutes ago, Tyler? You told me hands down, Jason's going to win this race.
Yeah, definitely not looking likely now. But
it could still happen.
It still could happen. It still could happen right now. He's only about 5 or 6 seconds back.
Can I have a guess? I think DJ Alessandrini's looking good, to be honest with you. Spun on the opening lap. Has the pace to win this race. Now clawing his way back through the order. So what is he? 4 seconds, just about under 4 seconds behind Elvis Rankin in the lead. I think that's enough for Alessandrini to possibly win this race. So let's see how he fares in the final 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think it certainly could be enough for DJ Alessandrini at this point to win the race. I mean, he's got some pace. That's certainly not the thing that he's lacking, but I think right now he's just going to have time on his hands that he's going to be lacking, because last lap, DJ Alessandrini crossed with a 1 minute 53.04, and that was nearly a 1/10 of a second off Elvis Rankin. So if Alessandrini's going to be able to move himself up the order, he needs to start really improving his pace, and this could be the start of the lap that does it.
You see how far he went off the racetrack there? He's really pushing it. This Mazda MX-5 is a tough one to drive. And like we said, it's new. What has it been now? Just over a month, Tyler, on this new update for the MX-5, which has really dramatically changed the car in a positive way.
Oh, I mean, it most certainly has. It's created a whole new challenge for the drivers who've driven the car for so long. They knew the car in the old tire model, myself included. And then you switch over to this, it can be a very difficult challenge Look at who's gone fastest in the race thus far. He set purple lap time for MX5. It's John Allen, but he is way far off the back of the front group right now.
Still see him, though. They're in his eyesight. Alessandrini, here we go for P2. And he's going to make that move into the second position. If he can keep that car stuck through the apex, he should be able to keep the second position. I think he's okay. They're going to be alongside each other here heading into Ferradura. No, Alessandrini will close the door. Now, at the bottom of the screen there, while this battle was taking place, Iro Nom, I'm a bit confused there. Did that say car 78 or 72? I'd love to look at what race control just said, Tyler, because I thought it said 78, which is Iro Nom. But if it said 72, that would be Kevin Carlisle. So there's a drive-through penalty nevertheless.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused there because I'm pretty sure it said 78 of Iro Nom, and I'm not seeing anything where Iro Nom's had another incident. But then, so I believe sometimes race control will make a correction. Don't forget, they sometimes get the numbers wrong. So I've seen 72 in our race marshal chat, but I saw 78 on screen. So sometimes that can be corrected. We'll wait and see over the next few laps. But nevertheless, those are two big names, regardless, involved in a potential drive-through penalty. Yeah, but we have gotten confirmation there from race control in our chat here. It was car 72 for avoidable contact, and it was a warning there for him. So a little bit of a slap on the wrist then for Kevin Carlisle, and he won't lose anything because of it, but that could have been really detrimental. He's got to be careful with that kind of stuff. Yep, certainly is. Yeah, excuse me. So race control, like we said, would correct that, and they certainly did. Brilliant job by race control behind the scenes. The Extreme Motorsport Series has some of the best race control out there in iRacing. So professional. And doing a professional job here today. And letting us know that it was just a warning. No drive-through penalty for Kevin Carlisle, and he'll be grateful for that. As we watch Jason Bossi on screen right behind John Allen now. John Allen promoted to fourth. John Allen is up into fourth place. He's currently 2 seconds behind Jim List in the D2D sports car right now. But he is closing quite rapidly. We saw how fast John Allen really is. He set fastest lap time last lap by, and he is coming towards the front of the field, but he's been tagged around. No! What a save by John Allen. Brilliant stuff by Mr. Allen, and he's going to continue on a pursuit towards a podium. He's going to widen the line through Yuan Sao for sure. This is Jim List on screen. That's who he's hunting down. You can see them in the background in a nice battle. John Allen, though, with a bit of work to do. And you can just see her from the rear-facing camera that we have on Jim List. John Allen is just barely in the sights of Jim List. They're barely in the same camera shot, but they are nonetheless. So right now, John Allen's got quite the challenge. He's got 2.5 seconds to close up on John Allen, or on Jim List, sorry. Then he's got to close in on Alessandrini, and then to rank it all in 15 minutes. I just don't see it happening. Well, you never know. It's up to Alessandrini right now in the second position, like you said. So I reckon, Tyler, you know what, Tyler? I think it's possible now, at least for the lead. Rankin versus Alessandrini. We'll keep an eye on that gap. It's 3 point... I mean, did you see that? It was 3.8 heading into the Desquito del Lago. Now it's 3.5 on the exit. 3/10 gain through one corner. 4/10 gain on the run down to Ferradura. This could be Alessandrini's race. It certainly could, but you just see Elvis Rankin is so fast through this back section of the racetrack. He's now back out to 3.6 seconds, and he is growing the gap out just that little bit more. But as I say that, he actually starts to lose more time again. So the drivers of this race certainly don't want me to look good, but right now, and you can see there also in the bottom of the screen, car 17, avoidable contact. That is a warning for them. That is
Car 17, that said? Yeah, that would be...
Jason Bosse. So that'll be the avoidable
Jason.
contact with John Allen, as we saw someone go very wide there in the back. I want to know who that was.
Could have been Oliver Hartley. Possibly. He's the number 55. Could have just been letting some lapped cars out of the way. Hartley, after he was turned around by Aeronom earlier in the race. Aeronom was found at fault for that incident and has served his drive-through penalty, and it looks like he served his final race win of the streak last round at Sebring. It's going to end here at Interlagos. So with 10 minutes remaining, just over 10 minutes remaining in this race, William Laster looks good for another race victory. Didn't come easy, though, this race, Tyler.
No, it certainly didn't. Kevin Carlisle gave him a good run for his money for a good portion of the event. And Carlisle is actually right in a scrap here with Matt Madigan at this point. This is the battle for 5th. But Carlisle just not able to get the run then whenever he's going by Aeronom through the center S.
So critical for these two. Carlisle here searching for a move on. That's the 39 of Matt Madigan for a top 5 position. The leaders of your Mustang class include Mike Dam and Aeronom. Here's Mike Dam. Aeronom 12 seconds behind and having to serve a drive-through penalty. So he'll be pushing like there's no tomorrow, Tyler, to win this race.
He certainly will. He's got a long way to go, though. 12 seconds. And with the current pace, Aeronom's actually losing a bit of time to Mike Dam. So certainly not what he needs here if he wants to win this race. He almost needs Mike Dam to have a little bit of luck. It's not his way, actually. And a little bit of luck to go in the way of Aeronom if he's looking to win this one.
And your MX-5 order, which on the left-hand side can be identified by our orange overlays. Elvis Rankin leads the field away. Now, Elvis Rankin, the young man, is looking for 2 race wins in a row after taking his first career win at Sebring, and he looks good this time out. Alessandrini's suffered in terms of his pace gain. It's now back down to 3.7 seconds, that gap, as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, and identical lap times last lap round for the two. So whether or not Alessandrini can win this race will be interesting. Don't forget as well, DJ Alessandrini was turned around in the opening lap and demoted, I think, was it outside your top 15?
I think it was most certainly outside of the top 15, maybe even the top... No, it was actually certainly out of the top 15. It was nearly all the way down the order was DJ Alessandrini, as Travis Schwanke's back in the pit lane.
Goodness me. So what's going on here? Schwenke with a late pit stop. Don't forget, Schwenke was leading this race before he was turned around by John Allen at the center S. And that was whilst your 2 leaders of Laster and Carlisle, who were leading the Audi TCR order, they were trying to lap the MX-5 order. And I think Allen just got a little bit too hot into turn 1, into the center S. And he was deemed at fault for that incident. Now, there's been a warning for car number 1. That's Daniel Rash for avoidable contact. And that's after Jason Bosse's earlier warning too. So the race marshals here, Tyler, they're just being, the race stewards, excuse me, being a little bit more lenient towards the end of this race, just trying to promote a little bit more physical contact.
Yeah, I think that the race stewards too have probably had such a workload at the beginning of this race. They certainly earned their paychecks today. Let's just say that much. They had a lot of incidents to uncover in a very quick period of time. And I think now at this point, they're pretty much just on the rest. And maybe, like you said, maybe just promoting a little bit of argy-bargy between the drivers and trying to create a little bit of late race action.
And brilliant here as we see Madigan under attack from Kevin Carlisle. Who's that in the 14? That's Riley Downey. We're watching Jim List, though. We're focusing on him. Jim List is trying to attack the 17 of Jason Bosse here. Bosse demoted from those podium positions. Another incident under review between cars 55 and 88. That's Oliver Hartley, yet again involved in another incident. And Bobby Childs trying to lap Oliver Hartley. So hopefully Hartley... hopefully Childs, neither of them are deemed at fault. Hopefully it wasn't too big of an incident. Hopefully we see another warning.
Now you can see here, class leader and class leaders, these two are now passing your class leader, of Elvis Rankin, and they're going to get by him pretty cleanly there. But Matt Madigan did get a little bit sideways in the process. I don't think he really realized how slow those MX-5s really are. I mean, they really just are a much slower class in comparison to the TCR cars. And they get through cleanly, though. So now, in the final 8 minutes of this race, it's Carlisle and Madigan. It's right on board here.
Carlisle. Yep, looking for the outside, so we're right on board with the American. This is the scene of his earlier race incident with William Laster, who's going on to hopefully win this race for himself. Second race win of the season. Here we go. Carlisle to the inside for P5.
So Kevin Carlisle will move up into 5th. Now we ride on board here with Matt Madigan. Oh, they're going to split the MX-5 traffic then, and they're going to still both go back to battling.
It's like Hakkinen and Schumacher. Oliver Hartley's been given a drive-through penalty, so Bobby Child's going to escape away with... oh, man. Well, you know what how that sentence was going to end, but, man, these lapped cars are... I don't think this race is over, Tyler, until the checkered flag's out. Let me tell you that much. Let's not call any of your winners now, even if they have a 15-second or so lead. I mean, anything can happen right now at Interlagos. This track is so awesome.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, this is what makes this track just so legendary to race at with these cars. And it's the first time we've seen the track on the schedule since, I believe, season 14 or maybe even season 13 here. So we've not seen the track all that often, but when we have, it has proved to be some incredible racing, especially whenever you put 3 classes on it.
Well, for those fans of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, before that went defunct, unfortunately, this was the opening round for many years of that championship. We had some iconic races here. We had Hutu, remember, at turn 1, taken out. I believe that was it 2016, I believe. Just had nowhere to go, and it was 3 redline cars colliding with each other. 3 in that race of Pakula, Jussi Akila, and Gregor Hutu. So the race to forget for them. We had Joni Tormela, don't forget, winning the first ever race in the McLaren here. That's when Joni Tormela sort of defined himself as no longer a mid-pack driver. He was a force to be reckoned with, and now he's an incredibly quick driver when it comes to F1 esports. We've had plenty of other famous races here in the past as well, don't forget. Jussi Akila also winning the opening round in 2015. Did a brilliant job. But now, though, who's going to win our 3 classes of cars here this afternoon? Less than 5 minutes remain.
Yeah, less than 5 minutes remain here in the second round of Season 16 of the Ricmotech SportsCar Series. It's an iconic season for the series as they go to 3 classes here. And no longer do we see just the 2-class format. The Mustang is no longer the fastest, and that has really created a bit of drama here. And it's created some incredible action with 3 classes all intertwining together. And it's a great addition to the series. And it's definitely going to prove to be a challenge for the drivers all the way throughout the season. Not only the drivers in the fastest class, but also in your MX-5s. They just have to learn how to deal with traffic now more than they did ever before, because they sometimes have drivers going 3 and 4 wide with them in faster classes. So it's one of those things where it's a big challenge for not only the drivers in the fast class trying to get through, but also the drivers in the slower classes to understand how they need to work with the traffic to not lose too much time.
And from the Audi TCR to the slowest car, which is the Mazda MX-5, there's over a 10-second difference in lap time. There's also a difference in which car can mow the lawn, because Alessandrini thinks that MX-5 can sort of mow the lawn there on the outside of Yudzao.
Yeah, it certainly can. I mean, the drivers, I think, have proved in this series that not only can these cars be excellent race cars, but they can also be incredible lawn mowers, and the series could save a ton of money by just hiring these guys to go out there and drive for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Don't worry about getting those diamond patch baseball fields. Just hire a Mazda MX-5 just to do it for you. Have about 4 going at the same time. You could save a bit of time doing that. Anyway, less than 3 minutes remain. There's more important stuff to talk about. As who's this? Tyler Shiflett. Haven't talked about Tyler Shiflett much today. Now, has he just made his way past teammate Clint Vigas? I think he has. Shiflett into 3rd, Vigas into 4th. So the 2 Mech Motorsports drivers yet again battling for the final podium position.
Yeah, so these two have swapped positions here. This is for the final podium spot today. These two were battling for 2nd last season for the most part. Now they're battling for 3rd as Mike Dam's moved over into the class. And really, Mike Dam is the only one that we've been able to see challenge Aeronam in some time now. And it's so great to see because we've almost seen Aeronam get put in a position that he hasn't got put in for a minute, where he's really got to work for a race victory. It doesn't just come easy like it used to. And he's certainly pushing hard for it. But is that John? Yes, it is. It's John Allen in front of DJ Alessandrini. John Allen has decided that he wants to mow the lawn this time around.
Well, Alessandrini remains in 2nd. But just a bit of almost, I tell you what, his heart will be racing after that for sure. So Alessandrini in 2nd still. Like we said, Allen's race continues. It's not over for the moment. Jason Bossi's out of contention for a podium. So as long as these two don't collide, he'll be okay. But where is William Laster? That's the question, because he could be on his 2nd to final lap. Or this could be the final lap for William Laster, our leader overall in your Audi TCR field. Here he is. So he will begin the final lap this time round. Will William Laster, Tyler? He's got one more trip around Interlagos, and I think he will claim his 2nd of 2 race wins for the season.
Yes, he will. We haven't talked about him all that much today. He's had an absolutely dominating lead thus far. Currently 11 seconds out ahead of the nearest driver, that is Geoff Appelgren, in the 2nd position. In the Nerdworks car, his teammate, Matt Madigan, has not had the greatest race. He sits down in 6th place at the moment, just behind Kevin Carlisle. But William Laster in the F4H Racing car has absolutely dominated thus far today, and he has pulled away from the field. He's currently got a 12-second advantage. I mean, he really just has been untouched since the incident with Kevin Carlisle.
Yeah, so brilliant event so far, and that's Oliver Hartley again being under investigation, and that's with car 71, so that's Clint Vigas, yet another car trying to make his way past Oliver Hartley there. So that to me is, I haven't seen the incident, but it could be called either way. Oliver Hartley's got a race to forget for sure. It started from qualifying, don't forget, when he pulled out there. Unaware of the rules, but it's not where you start, it's where you finish in your career. So may have an abysmal first round, but in a few years' time, you keep pounding away, you keep racing, you could end up a race winner, such as Elvis Rankin, who's looking to repeat here yet again today. William Laster, though, he's coming towards the final few corners, and it didn't come unscathed today. It was quite an eventful 2nd round for William Laster. He didn't qualify on pole. He was in that battle with Kevin Carlisle for quite some time in the early moments of the race. But the race win, nevertheless, will be handed to the F4H Racing driver. He wins round 2 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series for Season 16. It'll be Mike Dam, the Canadian, if he can hold it together in the next few seconds, to win your overall Mustang class, your Grand Sport GS class. And the Crypto-G Orange Racing driver will end Aeronam's win streak for the first time in over a season. The Estonian can only do 2nd. That's the best he could have done today with a drive-through penalty, don't forget. Mike Dam wins from Interlagos, and then we'll finally need to call our MX-5 winner, and it looks like one little piggy will come home, and that's Elvis Rankin.
Yeah, and it's still a few corners to go then for Elvis Rankin. He hadn't it was his first victory 2 weeks ago in Sebring. He took the inaugural victory of season 16, and he's going to come out of the final corner and down the front straightaway now. It's going to look like it's going to be back-to-back victories and an early championship lead here for Elvis Rankin, and he will cross the line to win in your MX-5 field.
2 wins from 2 to begin the season. And not only is he a race winner now, but if it's too early to call, I think he'll be trying to think of the championship right now. But he'll certainly be taking it race by race. He's a level-headed young man as Elvis Rankin. Jim List will come home to round out the top 5. What a race it was, though, from Interlagos, Tyler. And it was... we get one of these per season, don't we? The chaotic one. And I think we already got it for season 16.
Yes, we certainly did indeed. It was a very, very hectic race here from Interlagos. It was absolutely wonderful, wasn't it? I mean, it was just action at every single point. But the final race results are up on your screen.
Yep, William Laster takes race victory for the F4H racing team. The Noveworks driver of Jeff Appelgren ends up on the podium because for Matt Madigan, wasn't the best of ends to the races. He ended up in 6th. So you can see the rest of the drivers splitting him were Whitworth, Violet, and Kevin Carlisle. Could he have won his first race of his career in this series? And for the season, of course, had he not been involved in that incident with William Laster on the main straight at Interlagos. With Edgar Sancinelli still finishing on the lead lap, but ended up in 11th, rounding out the field. It was Mike Dam finally ending the Estonian of Aeronom's win streak. That will end over a season of play. Now, we've missed Mike Dam and the Mustang, so he's returned back this season and provided some extra competition for Aeronom. Believe it or not, if Mike Dam remained in the MX-5, Aeronom could have still won this race potentially, even with the drive-through penalty. So that's something to take into consideration. Kevin Ford in his return comes home in 16th. Clint Vigas at the end of the day. Now, what's happened to Clint Vigas in the closing laps there, Tyler? Remember, he was in 4th, and now he's dropped 2 positions. So something's happened on the final lap to him, but we'll scroll through the rest of the order because we will look at your MX-5 field. Elvis Rankin, who wins ahead of DJ Alessandrini, who could have won this race had he not had that spin on the opening lap. John Allen will be protesting the same. He'll be saying, hey, you know what? If I wasn't at fault for taking out Travis Schwenke in the lead, I could have won this race potentially too. But Travis Schwenke will also argue, hey, I'm the one who was taken out. I could have won this race as well. So a lot of incidents for these drivers to forget here today. Jason Bossy with a brilliant result. Not to forget, of course, they were rounded out all the way down to Mike Taylor, who finished 9 laps behind and was unfortunately out of this race with a few laps remaining. Still no one to show up to interviews, Tyler. So for us, might be a good time just to promote next round already, just to get out of the way, because we are strapped for time here. Next round will be, of course, in... Let me get it up, sorry. It will be in 7 days' time, of course. It will be at the Barber Motorsports Park. It will be on the 27th of January. 60 minutes of racing action coming up. Then we have the 90-minute sprint endurance race at Brands Hatch. That will be in about 3 weeks' time. So, again, 2 interesting racetracks there. Barber's a bit more tight and twisty compared to Brands Hatch. Brands Hatch is very similar, of course, to Interlagos, you could say.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is a bit more like this Interlagos race circuit, so I think it's something that maybe we could get a better idea of what to expect there, but I still think that we really just don't know because we haven't seen 3 classes of cars go at it at these sort of racetracks. So it'll be interesting every single time we go out to see what we have in store.
Yeah, so it'll be an interesting next few weeks. So, of course, that will be the 27th of January, like we said, for the next round. Then we take a week break. That will be the GT series for Ricmotech. Then we return back to the sports car series for a couple of weeks. So stay in tune for that. But for now, though, it'll be post-race interview time. And Tyler Maxson will be alongside race winner. It's interesting to call a race winner different from Aero Nom for your GS class.
Yeah, it certainly is. But Mike Dam has arisen to the challenge, and you have taken dominant victory over Aero Nom, 16 seconds in the end.
Yeah, it was. Thanks. It was a good race. Definitely a tough one. It would definitely have been a lot closer than that. I think he picked up a penalty. I don't know what it was for, but that's unfortunate. But those things happens, and I felt like I was on my A game today. I got the practice in, and I felt like I had some good pace here. So it was a good race.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly had good pace towards the end. You really started to pull out over Aero Nom. And yes, he did actually have to serve a drive-through penalty for contact that he made with a lap car. So, but nonetheless, I mean, you really had the pace. Even when he was out and on the same level playing field as you on the fresh tires after the pit stop, you still continued to pull away from him. So you certainly got everything set up right. Next time out, though, we head to the Barber Motorsports Park. That one's a bit of a different track to Interlagos. What are you expecting out of that place?
It's like I said, it's definitely a difficult track. Lots of sweeping corners. It really wears the tires out on this Mustang pretty quick. So you got to make your marks stick, and you got to hit them. And it's just a lot of really weird corners that you really got to commit to, and you can't really be off very far, or you're going to be swept. Great track. It's going to be hard for multi-class, but every race against Aero is definitely a nail biter.
Yeah, certainly can be very difficult with multi-class racing. Give us a bit of insight, because it looks like it's a very exciting thing to go through whenever you're out there on the racetrack, at least up here from the commentary booth. But it looks to be very hectic for all three of the classes when you've got everyone kind of intercycling through each other, when you've got the TCR cars coming through the GS field, and then the GS field also coming through the MX-5. So kind of give us a driver's perspective of what it's like to have three classes all lapping each other at nearly the same time.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting mix. Like this is only our second race, obviously, and so we're trying to get used to it still. Especially like with the Mazdas getting horsepower upgrade this season, it takes longer to get by them on the straight. They got a higher top end, so that's trickier to begin with. You got to time your gaps a little differently than normal, and TCRs just have such a weird advantage. Like, they definitely have top end, but I mean, it's just kind of almost the same thing. Like, all three cars mid corner, they're all pretty even. Like, it's hard to really judge who's going to be better or what.
Yeah, certainly can be a very difficult thing to do. But you take and race victory here in round 2 of season 16. Who gets it done for you in that Cryptology racing team?
I just all the guys who race here, they race super clean. It's super fun, competitive, man. It's a great league to race in. It's just awesome. And the admins for putting this on. They do the due diligence. They never tire of making this thing, what it is, and so professionally done. So just season after season, they do it over and over. It's just great.
Well, congratulations again on your win in GS. And that was Mike Dam. Now we'll switch over. Jonathan Sabom will be alongside Elvis Rankin.
No, not really.
And we've caught Elvis Rankin mid-sentence, so sorry, Elvis, to drag you out of there. But a race win for yourself, that's 2 from 2. Is it too early to talk championship for you?
I definitely cannot say it's not too early. It's good to start 2 for 2. That's definitely the way I want to start. I want to start with the momentum, the full head of steam. But it was definitely a good race. It was interesting, played a lot out on pit strategy. You could see that Jim List pitted a lot earlier than me, but he had a lot less tires than me at the end. But it was a very good race.
And you know what? Like when I was sim racing from a young age, I really wished I had all this access to like all the role models and stuff you have these days. There's so much access to seeing how the top athletes and top drivers in the world handle success. Are you going to be coming in level headed into the next few rounds? Because that's something I wish I sort of had that knowledge when I was younger, to not get too ahead of myself if I start achieving too much success.
Yeah, you just got to take one step at a time. I definitely think that you don't want to get over your head. I think I've been doing a pretty good job about that, but this one was definitely a good one, and we just got to go do it at the next race, and we should be pretty good.
And something different for a change. Any racing commitments in the real world coming up? I know it's a bit early in the year, but some people do begin early in January.
It's a bit early, but I think that our goal for this year for real life racing is we want to run in Madera, California for the 5150 Junior Late Model Series, and then we also want to run out east in the Lucas Oil Formula Racing School Series. We've already won from a scholarship one race there, so now just got to look to go find the money and the sponsorship to pay for the rest.
Awesome. Tyler, before I let you go, Elvis, I love motorsport, right, Elvis? I've been following it my whole life. I'm going to pretend I knew everything you just said there. Because that just went over my head, mate. I don't even know what's going on. And I'm like, mate, I've been following motorsport my whole life. I don't even know what you're talking about. Best of luck. Anyone to thank as well before you go?
Yes, I would like to thank all my sponsors, everyone who keeps me on track in the real world. I want to thank my mom, my dad, and all the series admins. Without them, we wouldn't be here. So I just wanted to give a huge shout out to them. The race marshal as well. Kevin, Jeff, those guys are the real best. They're the MVPs of the series.
Yep, definitely. So that's Elvis Rankin. We'll leave you to it, mate. Hopefully another race win in 7 days' time at Barber. And we'll speak next.
Fingers crossed.
Yep, fingers crossed for sure. And Tyler, you'll be alongside DJ Alessandrini, who, without that spin on the opening lap, could have been race winner today.
Yeah, he certainly could have. DJ, unfortunate circumstances on the opening lap for you. It sent you flying down the order. I think you were as low as behind 15th place.
I think I was last.
I think you were last as well, but nonetheless, you were way down the order, and you somehow made a miraculous return to second. What a race from you.
Yeah, I turned all my buddies off in Discord, and the only time I'm more focused than that is in a real race. That was full on go 100%. Like my mouth was probably open. My mouth was dry at the end of the race. I was mouth breathing, drooling, all the things, like just trying because I knew I had to be perfect. And yeah, I just flew every single lap.
Yeah, you certainly did. You pulled away you caught back through the field quite a bit. You were only 3 seconds off Elvis Rankin in the end. And I think if it had just been a little bit longer, you may have been able to get him there in the end. But yeah, like you said, he definitely looked focused because you came through the field in a demanding fashion.
Yeah, my tires were pretty dead by the end, and looks like Elvis was struggling a lot too. And John had those like 7-lap new tires, and he was just moving through. And I let John through just because I'm like, he needs to go up there and mix it up. Also, the toe of his car will bring me in there, and that's my shot at winning because I was only bringing Elvis in like a 10th, 2/10, here and there. So I would have needed like at least another 15 minutes to grab that coveted 2-second gap, so I would have some draft, which would accelerate the catching of Elvis. And then I let John by, and he went off track next turn. So it was a little unfortunate, but I mean the stars really had to align for me to even get into second. Like, John had to get his penalty. The traffic had to not treat Elvis right. Travis had to spin. Like everything had to go wrong for everybody else for me to get into second. And unfortunately for them, and lucky for me, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, well, looking ahead into next week, we go to the Barber Motorsports Park. It's a very tricky track. I don't know if you've ever raced it in the real world, but if you have, it could give you a nice competitive advantage heading into that circuit.
I was supposed to race Chump Car there, and then the car blew up. So, unfortunately, no real-world experience at Barber yet.
It's certainly going to be a fun one, though. And with the multi-class action that we've seen here in Interlagos, I think it's going to be even crazier at that Barber Motorsports Park. What are you expecting out of that very tight and twisty circuit?
I tend to do well at the technical circuits where there's a lot of thread the needle, you might die elements of the track. I tend to do. It tends to bring out the best in me in those types of scenarios. So I'm expecting to do really well there. Last season it was at Barber, and I was winning that race and I ran out of gas on the start finish straight on the last lap. So don't do that this time, and I should have a good shot at the win.
Well, you certainly should. And again, congratulations on second place. Who gets it done for you and the Grid Life iRacers?
My fiance is on a plane right now to Hawaii, so I'm gonna miss her a lot. So I'm gonna say that publicly, and she's everything to me, and I'm gonna miss her a whole bunch. Her being gone for 2 weeks. I'm gonna be a bachelor, and the house is gonna be a mess. It's gonna be great, but I'm still gonna miss her, and yeah, all my Grid Life buddies, like to thank them. And anybody who pops by and says hello in my Twitch chat. By the way, if you want to watch an hour-long video of me working through traffic, just head on over there and watch the archive footage. It should be fun.
Well, congratulations again on second place, DJ. Hopefully we'll speak with you in a week's time.
All right, thanks, guys.
And finally, we'll have a chat to John Allen. So, John, I think your race could have ended up a lot differently, unfortunately, had you not collided with Travis Schwenke into turn one.
Yeah, I got stuck in neutral. Those TCRs came through on such a tear, and we're still kind of new to experiencing that closing speed differential. The William Laster snuck through on the right, and then cut my nose off going into turn one to get inside Elvis and Travis, and then the next one through was following that line, and I was starting to go back to the right. Decided to bail because I thought he was going to pump me, and that I missed my braking zone by a little bit, and I still would have been fine if I just managed to grab second gear and hold the inside of that first turn. I missed it, was in neutral, and I just rolled out into Travis. Terrible feeling. He's a good buddy. We race hard, but it's never how you want to certainly start the race. It's not even how you want to end it, but something like that on the last lap is a different animal than lap 6. So definitely an apology out there for Travis on that end. After that, all I could do was just, take the penalty. I saw when everyone else was pitting. I tried to do as good as I could with traffic and take my pit as late as possible because I knew tires were worth something. And, it showed. I mean, I reeled in, 7 seconds or so after the pit stop on DJ and Elvis. DJ sent me by, and I promptly screwed that up. We had a chance to be at least in Elvis's draft and really put the pressure on over those last 2 laps, and I had just burned up everything I had in the tires. So happy with the finish given the start, but not happy with the incident itself.
But glass half full, it's still early in the championship, and you're certainly still in contention for that title.
Yeah, of course. It's so fun to race with these guys. The competition, there's every year, every season, there's 1 or 2 more guys sprinkled in one of the divisions that just take it to another level and better every time. So glad to have more of them here. Glad that, real happy for Elvis's success and that he's, starting out the gate strong in the Pro Series. And, it won't be that easy on him all season. We're having some self-inflicted wounds. I ran out of gas from the lead on the first round, and then I got a penalty this round. So I get that cleared up. Maybe have him in the rear view instead of out the windshield.
And finally, anybody to thank for that Defined Auto Works car?
It's namesake as well. Just the permission to run that on there. A good buddy of mine, Logan Carswell, has a awesome performance shop here not far from my home, and we've been friends for a long time. He's become intrigued with iRacing. Just got his own sim, so with any luck, we'll get him practiced up, and maybe you'll see him gracing this league in coming seasons.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how we go. That's John Allen. Hopefully see him in a week's time at Barber after hopefully a much cleaner event for him, of course. And that is it for us, Tyler, here. and we will wrap up from the Apex Racing TV commentary booth. These roaring sports cars will be back racing again for the next race, like we said, on the 27th of January. That's in a week's time for 60 minutes of racing action around the Barber Motorsports Park. It'll host round 3, season 16 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series, all broadcasted on Apex Racing TV. Thanks to everybody who joined us for today's broadcast, of course. The viewers have been phenomenal throughout the campaign. We keep increasing every season, and we hope that number keeps exponentially growing. But from myself, Jonathan Simon, Tyler Maxon alongside me, and our entire Apex Racing TV crew, they've made this Apex Racing TV presentation broadcasted on our associated platforms. Visit the Apex Racing TV website at apexracingtv.com for more information on our iRacing broadcasting services. Our winners today, William Laster, of course, Mike Dam, Elvis Rankin. We will say so long from Interlagos, and we'll see you in a week's time.